action.
The producers have said action. Producer Tri was in the house. Austin turned up the mic to 10. So Austin, producer 2, wants to make sure that the volume is very loud. Turn it up to 10. I talk loud, so we don't need that. But welcome back, everyone, to the road to Paris. Normally, I start these out, one by saying a thank you to producers 1 and 2, Austin and Delaney Mewhirter. And then I congratulate the winners and medalists of the preceding event that we're speaking about. Today, I'm recording this on a Saturday because I'm not commentating Sunday in Ostrava, and I just want to take... That'll be the first day off I take, and I don't know the last time I've actually had a day off of either commentating, podcasting, writing, road to Parising. I'm turning that into a verb, whatever it may be. So recording this on a Saturday. Congratulations to whoever medaled. Congratulations to Andy Benish and Miles Partain, finally getting back into the form that they had midway through last year. They're back in the semifinals, had a couple big league wins over Nils Ehlers and Clemens Vikler, the first victory they had over them. Then they beat Sharif and Ahmed. Then they beat Paolo Nicolai and Sam Kodafava, the first career victory over them as well. So a big congrats to them back in the medal rounds. Congrats to Kelly Chang and Sarah Hughes, also back into the medal rounds. And a huge congrats and a welcome back to Anders Mol. First event we've seen from him since the Doha Elite16 earlier this year. Had a foot injury, came back, and then, of course, what does he do when he comes back? They're down 15-6 in the quarterfinals to Steven Van de Velde and Matthew Emmers, and he ain't done yet. Block, blah, 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 block. 7 blocks.
No fat ladies in Guadalajara.
And 3 straight blocks for Anders Mol. And another one. In that first set, comes all the way back from down 15-6. They win that opening set 30-28, win the second into the semifinals. Don't know how it wrapped up, but Anders it's just so good to have him back.
He's back.
The beach world is better with Anders and Christian back on the sand, especially when for so long they were in a tier of their own. There was the Anders and Christian tier, and then there was tier B. There wasn't even a tier 1A. But now that Anders and Christian tier, they've been joined by Sweden's David Amann, Jonathan Helvig, who had made 8 straight finals. Don't know if they made another one here in Ostrava. The Czech Republic, the world champs, Andre Perisic, David Schweiner, they're in that tier. So you have a lot of teams at the top who are sort of contending in that Anders and Christian tier. So it's good to have them back, and this Paris Olympics is going to be super interesting with the depth of the men's tour, especially with Stefan Bormans, Jörg de Groot playing at the level that they are. They're in that tier, the Anders and Christian tier, so to speak, when they're playing. And so maybe they medaled in Ostrava as well. And congratulations to all 18 teams who have officially punched their tickets into the Paris Olympic Games. It's not just a Sharpie from yours truly. This is official. It's done. You are in the Olympic Games. And I just want to give a quick rundown highlighting every team who has officially punched their ticket to the Paris Olympics. So the World Championship bid for the men, Andre Perisic, David Schweiner. Number 1, David Amann, Jonathan Helvig. Anders Mol and Christian Sorum. Andre Loyola, George Wanderley, first-time Olympians both. Nils Ehlers, first-time Olympian, and Clemens Vikler. Andy Benish, Miles Partain. Evander Goncalves, Arthur Mariano. Michal Brill, Bartosz Wojciak. Stefan Bormans, Jörg de Groot, Matthew Emmers, Steven Van de Velde. Sam Kodafava, Paolo Nicolai, Sharif Samba, Ahmed Tijan. Chase Budinger, Miles Evans. Adrian Gavira, the legend. Pablo Herrera, 6-time Olympian. I'll get to him later. Adrian Carambola, Alex Rangieri, Thomas Hodges, Zach Schubert, Jorge Layo, Noslin Diaz, Julian Horrell, Alex Horst, the ageless Alex Horst. On the women's side, a huge congratulations to the world champs, Kelly Chang, Sarah Hughes, first-time Olympian Sarah Hughes, Duda Lisboa, Ana Patricia Silva, Kristen Nuss, Taryn Cloth, Carol Salgado, first-time Olympian at 36, awesome, Peta Baines, Carol, Barbara Seixas, Raisa Schoon, Katja Stam, Nina Brunner, Tanya Huberly, Melissa Humana Paredes, Brandy Wilkerson, Shinyi Shah, Chen Shu, Tina Gradina, Anastasia Samoilova, Valentina Guittardi, Marta Menegatti, 4-time Olympian, Maria Feartacho, Taliqua Clancy, Savenya Mueller, Sinya Tillman, Esme Bodmer, Zoe Verge-Depre. I will get to them very shortly. Daniela Alvarez, Tanya Moreno, first-time Olympian, still in college. Ridiculous. Lara Ludwig, 5-time Olympian. Louisa Littman, rookie. Lezana Placet, Alexia Richard, Monica Polakine, Ayn Ropp-Light. First team from Lithuania to ever compete in Olympic Games on the beach. Awesome. Lily Fernandez, Paula Soria, Lily the legend from Spain. So a big congratulations to every team who has qualified for the Paris Olympic Games, and a huge congratulations to every team who was in the hunt, who was in the race. You are the men and women in the arena, and you went for it, and it was awesome, and this race was wild down to the finish. It made Wednesday's qualifier positively insane. That's where almost all the final Olympic spots were sealed up. So Cuba and Australia, Thomas Hodges, Zach Schubert, and Austria, Julian Horrell, Alex Horst, they all officially punched their tickets back with the Grimald's lost in the first round. The Grimald's still have a shot with the South American Continental Cup. That will be 2 weekends from now. They will need the help of Noah Advenia and Vicente Droguet to fend off a decent team from Uruguay and a strong Argentina federation. More on that a little bit later. Then the women's bids were all sealed up in Wednesday's qualifier as well. Lara Ludwig punched her 5th Olympic ticket with Louisa Littman, the rookie, in I think the purest manner possible. They beat Carla Borger and Sandra Ittlinger, who were hot on their heels. I love that it came down to them playing each other. Ludwig Littman win that in 2 sets, qualified, and then they went on to make the main draw. So a huge congratulations to them. Lily and Paula, they punched their ticket to the Olympic Games when Sophie Bukovic and Heather Bansley lost in the first round, and Sarah Pavin and Molly McBain did not make it into the Ostrava event. Sophie and Heather, like the Grimalds, still have a chance, and they will be the favorites to qualify out of the Norseca Continental Cup. So more on that also in a bit. That will be in 2 weekends from now as well in Tlaxcala, Mexico. They will likely have to fend off a decent team from Mexico in Abril Flores and Atenas Gutierrez, and they will need to fend off a good team from Puerto Rico and Alanis Navas and Maria Gonzalez, who are both also in college, like Moreno and Alvarez. And of course, the last Olympic bid, keeping up with Verge-Depre, came down into the main draw, actually. So Zoe Verge-Depre and Esme Bobner, they could have finished the job on their own. They played Anouk and Joana against such a pure spot to play one another in the final round, a win, and you are into the Olympics. But Anouk and Joana, credit to them, they won in 3 sets, 15-10 in the third. And here's something that I want to discuss. So the first round of pool play, Anouk and Joana are playing Katja Stam and Raisa Schoon, who are playing some fantastic beach volleyball, and it's 14-13 in the third set. And Joana's at the net, and Anouk is going back to serve. And now I'm going to bring up this replay as I'm talking about this with you guys so I can overlay this on the screen. So Anouk goes back to serve, and you have Katja Stam sort of shank it into the net, and then it hits Joana, who's at the net. Now, at first blush, as a blocker, I would have done the same exact thing Joana did, put my hands at the net, and if the ball hits the net and it comes through and hits her hand and goes down, what I thought was that the point goes to the blocker. And so I'm glad I wasn't on the mic. I'm glad it was Damian Schumann, because I would have said this is a terrible call. And of course, social media was split just about 50-50 on it. Everybody was very reasonable with their opinions, of course. That this is a terrible call, this is the right call, and here's why. And so I asked John King, one of my favorite refs in the world, a man who, when he's on the stand, I think does the best job in the world of any ref. And so I said, listen, what's the call? And John says, if they ruled on behalf of the team that made the errant pass and against the team that in a quote-unquote unsportsmanlike fashion, then they are correct, which was the correct call. While the blocker, or in this case the defender, has every right to be in the proximity of the ball, they do not have the right or intention to put their hand up to the net in such a form or fashion to cause redirection of the ball as it enters the net. It does seem like a little bit of a grayish area, but the reality is the defender had no play on the ball, correct, below the plane of the net, and therefore no real competitive reason to have their hand at the net below the plane of the tape other than to cause that ball to artificially redirect when it came into the plane. And so that is your translation from John King. I think John is the best ref in the business. And so whoever it was on the stand, magnificent job reffing, because I would have given that to Joana and Anouk. And of course, Joana and Anouk argue the call, as anybody would have in that situation. They go on to lose the next 2 points. They lose the match. Now, the ball was still in their hands, so to speak, because they could have beat the Czech Republic's Barbara Hermanova and Marisa Aristoklova in the next round. They end up losing. They could have beat Melissa Humana Paredes and Brandy Wilkerson in the next round. They end up losing, go 0-3 in pool play. They get knocked out. They needed a 4th or better. They do not get that. They take a 13th. And so the Olympic bid goes to Esme Bobner and Zoe Verge-Depre. So a huge, huge, huge congratulations to Esme and Zoe, one of the fastest improving teams on the Beach Pro Tour. Lovely people. And they're, again, I'll bring it up, they remind me so much of Kelly Clays and Sarah Sponsel and their run into the Tokyo Olympics. They were just that young team trying to knock off the veterans. They do it, and they're going to be a contender. Not a medal favorite in Paris by any means, but they're going to be a contender. They can beat anyone on the beach, and they are 2 new faces of 17 into the Paris Olympic Games. So the new faces are going to be Kristen Nuss, Taryn Cloth, Carol Salgado, awesome, 36 years old, making her debut, Valentina Gottardi, Savannah Mueller, Cindy Tillman, Daniela Alvarez, Tanya Moreno, Louisa Littman, Lezana Placette, Alexia Richard, Monica Polakine, Ayn Ra Polite, Paula Soria, and Sarah Hughes. All of them are making their Olympic debuts. That's 17 individuals plus 6 full teams are making their debuts together. And then we have 6 more spots to go. So 5 of them will be decided in the Continental Cups in Europe, Asia, South America, Africa, and the NORCECA. I'll get into those a little bit later. As for the men, there will be a lot of new faces. There will be 20 new faces and 8 new teams. 2 of those new teams from the United States of America. For the first time since 2008, when Todd Rogers and Phil Dahlhauser and Sean Rosenthal and Jake Gibb both went to the Olympic Games, we will have 2 completely new teams representing the USA at Olympic Games. Worked out pretty well last time. Phil and Todd won gold in Beijing. Jake and Rosie took a 5th. Now, Andy and Miles, they had long locked up their bid, so there's no real surprise there. But Chase Budinger and Miles Evans, they locked up their bid after Trevor Crabb and Theo Brunner fell in the first round of the qualifier to Germans Lukas Fechner and Sven Winter, who I think would be favorites to come out of the Continental Cup for Europe, a stacked Continental Cup for Europe. So that might not be the last time we hear of Winter and Fechner in this Olympic quad. And before this tournament, I was talking with Chase, and after their great finish in Espino and their big run, and he said, hey, job's not done, evoking the famous words from Kobe Bryant during the 2009 NBA Finals.
Job's not finished. Job finished? I don't think so. Okay.
The job is now done. Chase Budinger and Miles Evans are going to the Olympic Games, and the media picked up on this. Now, throughout this process, once Triborn and Cam Jacques sort of dropped out, a lot of people would say, hey, off the record, who are you rooting for to qualify? And I had no dog in the fight. I wasn't rooting for anyone, but I did say that I think that Chase will be the biggest storyline in the Olympics, or one of the biggest ones. And as far as bringing attention to the sport, if Chase qualifies, that's the biggest thing that could have happened. And sure enough, the New York Times jumps on it, The Athletic jumps on it, ESPN jumps on it, Bleacher Report jumps on it, ABC, NBC, Yahoo, everything. Former NBA player makes the Olympics. Kevin Durant shouts him out on social media. Gerald Henderson shouts him out on social media. And so Chase, who shared the McDonald's All-American Game MVP with Kevin Durant in 2006, will now be sharing an Olympic Games with him in 2024, playing different sports. Now, a lot of people were also making the mistake saying, oh, Chase is the first NBA player ever to do this. Well, he's actually the third. So Mike Whitmarsh and Mike Dodd were both taken in the NBA draft. Mike Whitmarsh was the 5th-round pick of the Portland Trailblazers in '84, played a couple years in the NBA, and then turned to the beach, made $1.6 million. And then Mike Dodd, here's a trivia question for you, was the 10th-round pick of the San Diego Clippers in 1979. Of course, Mike made his legacy. Both Mikes made their legacy on the beach. They teamed up and won a silver medal in the 1996 Olympic Games. Of course, Chase, by far the most decorated of the NBA players going to the Olympic Games for beach. But that's just a fun little factoid that he's the third and the first since 1996 we've had an NBA talent. And definitely the first who participated in a McDonald's All-American dunk contest, was runner-up, and shared MVP of that with Kevin Durant. So huge congratulations to all of those guys. And now the new faces for the men, just as I shouted out the new faces for the women, is Andy Benish, Miles Pertain, Budinger, Miles Evans, Andre Loyola, who's a world champion, not yet an Olympian, kind of wild, George Wanderley, David Amon, Jonathan Helvig, Nils Ehlers, Arthur Mariano, Stefan Bormans, York de Groot, Matthew Emmer, Steven Vandeveld, Sam Kotafava, Thomas Hodges, Zach Schubert. Hodges also, if you're an American fan listening to this, you can kind of jump on the Hodges bandwagon. He played his college here in the United States at California Irvine, so you can kind of adopt him as a fellow American. Nazan Diaz, Jorge Alayo of Cuba, the first Cuban team to qualify via points since 2004, which is a pretty cool little fact. Julian Horrell making his new debut. So 20 new faces for the men, 8 brand new teams. And we'll take a brief YK water break. Just as the last handful have been, this one also brought to you by Aura. So Aura is a data protection company. And if you use our code aura.com/SANDCAST, we get a very friendly kickback for transparency's sake. And we're doing a lot of big things. We have a lot of big projects coming. And I'll just lay over a couple pictures for you guys to get a look at. And so anytime you sign up for a free trial, you can cancel if you want. You can stick with it if you want. Either way, it benefits the show hugely, and that helps us fund huge projects like we're doing. We sent a full camera crew out to Ostrava and a number of other places around the world. So we have some big things coming. You can help us out a lot by signing up for a free trial at aura.com/SANDCAST. Protect your data, protect your passwords, limit your spam calls, and just live a better life with your data not being bought and sold left and right. So now that we know at least 18 of the teams per gender who's in the Olympic Games, here are some of the more significant players and teams who have qualified. So Pablo Herrera, he's already has the record. He's played in 11 world championships on the beach. He competed in his first Olympic Games in 2004 when he won a silver medal with Javier Bosma. And he is now in his 6th Olympic Games, a record-setting 6th. Meanwhile, his partner, Adrian Gavira, has competed in just 4. So the most experienced team on the beach, 10 Olympics between them. Carol Salgado will be the oldest player in the field, making her Olympic debut at 36 years young. They're going to be a top 5 seed. And it's crazy because she's won 42 medals in her career, almost $1 million in prize money, and this is her Olympic debut. That's how strong the Brazilian Federation is. So at Petabens, congrats to Carol. Chen Xu, Marta Menegatti, they are both making their 4th Olympic appearance. Laura Ludwig, she's making her 5th after 2 kids. Just such a lovely individual. The beach is way better when she's on it. Monika Polakine, Ain Ra Polite, a huge congratulations to them. The first team in Lithuanian beach volleyball history to make the Olympic Games. And so big congrats to all the rookies. Big congrats to all the veterans. Paris Olympics going to be an absolutely wild ride. And up next, we have all the Beach Pro Tour events are done. So Olympic qualifying is done. The race is done. But we do have the European Continental Cup. That's going to be next weekend in Jurmala, Latvia. You can find I'll link to the entry list in the show notes. And I'll send it out on our email newsletter. And just go to our website, sandcastvolleyball.com, if you want to get on that. And so that'll be in Jurmala, Latvia. I believe it'll be streamed on CEV TV. And producer 2 just wants to come in and say goodbye. So we have the European Continental Cup next weekend. The following weekend will be the Norseka Continental Cup, the Asia Continental Cup, Africa, and South America. France, their federation, will be making their wild card decision on June 17th. Naya, do you want to come in and say sheets as well? We get the pink producers in the house. Yeah. All right, buddy. What do we say when we say goodbye? Thank you, everyone, as always, for joining the Road to Paris. We got producer 2. Now, what do we say on 3, 2, 1? Shoots. The best ending yet. Mwah.